Welcome to iAccessVO with Brian Fischler and Ed Plumacher. Making it happen with VoiceOver accessibility. And now, here's Brian and Ed.
Welcome back to yet another episode of iAccessVO. This is the big one, and I'm popping the champagne. This is episode 26, and Ed, I'm not any good at math. You're the math one. If we do this show twice a month, does that make this our one-year show?
This is our one-year anniversary show, Brian. Hard to believe, but we made it.
It is. You know, I'm kind of like Larry David. I don't know if you ever watched Curb Your Enthusiasm. He was the guy in the corner that refused to sing Happy Birthday at a party. I refuse to sing Happy Anniversary to anybody. I'm that guy. I'm that idiot in the corner that refuses to sing.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll let you go on this one here. But yeah, no, it's been a year. It's been really good. I mean, once we got past episode 7, I mean, that's where most podcasts fade right after that. So we got through that. We got through 15. We got through 20, and here we are, episode 26, our one-year anniversary show.
Well, I think the most important thing for making it a year was we replaced the 2 original hosts around episode 5, right?
Yeah, we got rid of them, and we got rid of that research team that used to give us all the bad information.
Yeah, we fired them. That was a sad day because we did it right the day before Christmas, I believe. Yeah, nothing like firing somebody the day before Christmas. And it's been a year. You know what a year means to me? It means a lot of time spent in a very hot room with no air conditioning.
That's right. Every time we do the show in the summertime, you got to turn your AC off. Because when we started the show, we were working in the same room, and
we really wouldn't last.
Yeah, with the microphones and everything else, and we had all kinds of issues dealing with that. And I think once we did this remote setup where you work from your apartment, I work from my home, and I think it's been the quality I think has been good.
And we got to give Patrick a major shout out. I know you didn't want to, but I do, and our editor who makes us sound fantastic. You got to give him a major shout out.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Well, he makes you sound fantastic. He makes me sound like Ray Romano.
That's true. It's pretty funny that somebody commented on our Facebook page that you sounded like Ray Romano, and then I had a friend in town from college who I played a quick minute clip from the show for, and he says, that guy sounds like Ray Romano, and you didn't even believe me.
Oh, come on!
Hey, there we go. Like I said, we were joking that because I've performed with Ray Romano, that we should post that as our artwork for the podcast, because it's a photo of me with Ray Romano, and just label it Brian and Ed.
There you go. Well, he has more hair than I do, and I think it's darker than mine is now, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny is we're probably gonna have to fire our new research team. Sorry, guys, because they work very hard to put an outline together for us and make sure we cover everything, and they almost left out one of my favorite segments in our 1-year anniversary show.
What's that, Brian?
What's pissing Brian off?
Oh, you see, I always forget that's a segment because I hear that from you every day.
That's the advantage of knowing the real me.
This is true.
It's funny because I hadn't even heard about this, and I guess it's been going on. It started in September, so it could have been September 30th for all I know. So it's only been a few days, but I don't know when this started. But the FFB, Foundation Fighting Blindness, who, let's give them credit. They've done a tremendous job over 30 years of raising money, but they have this new challenge. I guess it's they're trying to make it similar to the Ice Bucket Challenge, and they're asking people to blindfold themselves and post videos of them doing simple tasks. And I'm sorry, I believe you have always had an issue with these dining in the darks, and just because you blind yourself, people, doesn't give you the full feel of what it's like to be blind. I mean, this really let me down with the FFB when I heard about this not contest, but fundraising attempt.
Yeah, I know that the heart was in the right area, but sometimes I don't know who vets these decisions, but it just I know that it's irritated the National Federation of the Blind. I think you told me that they're actually calling for them to cease and desist on this because it's a lot too many people find it insulting.
Yeah, and it was so odd when I was like, wait a minute. And Jonathan Mosen, who does a great podcast called The Blind Side, had somebody on from the NFB, and I was like, wait a minute. Okay, I actually agree with the NFB? Oh, my God, what's happening, man? Has hell frozen over?
They all do good work at certain times, and you can't agree with everything and everybody. But no, I agree with you on this one. And like you mentioned earlier, the Dining in the Dark, I get lots of invitations to attend fundraisers doing the Dining in the Dark format, and I just refuse to do it. I just cannot bring myself to participate in something that I just don't agree with. So
I dine in the dark every night. If I was to go to a Dining in the Dark outside the apartment, I would have to put pants on when I eat, and that's just not. That's a deal breaker.
Yeah, that's also an image. I don't even want to go there.
What, you don't think of me without pants all the time?
No, and I try not to. So let's move on. Yeah. Okay, 1 year anniversary show. It's been good. Let's get down to some business.
Now, Ed, can you believe we're already on 10.0.2 of iOS?
The double dot update. I haven't upgraded to that yet. I guess I probably should.
Really?
Because,
have they been nagging you every single day to update?
Every day I turn the phone on. Every day I get that you need to upgrade, and then you hit the button, and then all of a sudden my passcode comes up again. I'm like, oh, damn it, guys!
When did they start doing that? Even if you're like you hit not now, you still have to enter your passcode. Then it goes to accept terms.
Well, actually, you don't. Okay. Next time that comes up, if you, I know you can't see the screen, but for the next update, what you do is just rest your finger on your home button, slide up slowly, and there's a button there to delete or to bypass that you just double tap that, and it goes away. So but it will come back. They need to have something like either remind me later or don't ask me again. Click here.
Yeah. Nobody likes when their mom nags the heck out of them when they were a kid. And this is like Apple acting like our mommies all over again,
No, you know what this is all about, Brian? This is so they can put their statistics out saying that, 96.3% of our users upgrade to the new operating system because you nag them to death, and sometimes you do it by accident.
Yeah, and it's always when I'm like rushing to like get a football game to start playing. I'm like, this now, and I got to go through. Well, now I know I don't have to go through 5 steps to just cancel it and everything. But yeah, it used to be so much less intrusive, and now it's just nag, and I don't know. Right. I picture like Marge Simpson's voice in the back of my head saying update, and I can't do the voice, but just a really annoying voice. I mean, maybe to you it's my voice saying it.
Yeah, what the whole thing is, though, is that the reason that we don't always want to do it because, as always, when things first come out, there's bugs, and we both know that iOS and Sierra have bugs right now.
Yeah, you're not talking about the good kind, the creepy crawlers, are you?
Well, I don't know if you want to call them good kind. Although if you go to certain parts of Asia, you can actually go to the bug stands and buy them for lunch.
Yeah. You okay there, man? You gonna make it through the 1 year anniversary show, or that'd be so cool. I had a heart attack on the show.
No, I'm sorry. I just had this
special. We got something special coming up. I hope it's not you dying.
No. Well, I think someone gave me a defibrillator for the anniversary present. Yeah. I may test it out.
Yeah, I think what's probably giving you a heartache though is trying to find an app in the App Store.
Oh. That drove me nuts because, I usually don't use dictation, but you had mentioned to me that you were having issues, and I'm like, I've downloaded a couple of apps. Let me try the dictation. And I did it, and it wouldn't work.
Where's my keyboard? Where's my keyboard?
Yeah, the keyboard disappears. There's no place to hit the search button. I'm like, what's going on here? And then the problem was when I was able to get back and, go back into the edit field, clear the field, and then have the keyboard come back, then I would try typing it in, and then that wouldn't work. And I'm like, oh, now it's broken. What's happening with this? Because I know it used to work.
Yeah.
So, you told me the fix on that is to force quit the app and then go back in and type it in. It will work. But I didn't realize that. So I actually needed something I had to download. So I ended up opening up Google in Safari, Googling the name of the app and saying iOS, and when it came up, I double tapped on that. It brought the screen up, and I was able to download it that way. But I was like, "Oh, this is
googly eyes."
Yeah, the googly eyes. So my Google saves me sometimes when I'm using my iPhone.
Yeah, well, anybody, if you're having issues with the App Store, what I have noticed is if you go into the app switcher, force quit it, and then fire it back up, you could type in. Everything seems to work fine. There's definitely there's a couple of dictation issues that I've noticed. Besides the App Store, in messages, normally when you do a two-finger tap and you're not in edit mode, music starts playing or nothing happens. If you go into messages and you do a two-finger tap to dictate, and you could dictate, and then you do a two-finger double tap to send to, stop dictation, then you go to check what you wrote, and there's nothing there. And it's not even in edit text mode.
Yeah, like,
wait a minute, what's going on here?
We had spoken about this, and a couple hours ago before I went to dinner, I tested this again, and mine worked fine. So, and I'm, but like I said, I'm still running 10.0. I know you've upgraded to 10.
I've noticed it in 10.0.
10.2. Oh, you did?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, maybe it's us lucky iPhone 7 users.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what didn't work is I was trying to do a couple of quick text messages, and to do that sometimes I'll just use Siri because that's always worked well for me. And if you speak the dictation language, you can get through it quickly and says, would you like me to send it? You say yes, and Siri comes back and says done. Well, twice I did that, and then within about 30 seconds after it told me it was done, I get this pop-up notification with some kind of a 655 notification saying that the message failed to send. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And it did it twice. So that's when I went into the Messenger app and hit compose, put in the address, the recipient's address, and then dictated it, and that worked flawlessly. And I'm like, all right, something's glitchy here.
Yeah, no, there seems to be some minor glitches, but at least you didn't get that 666 error message.
No. I think the only one I know that gets that is you. I mean, that's a daily notification.
You've got to be a bad man to get that one. Yes, yeah. I won't go into the details behind it, but it's interesting though because not all glitches are universal. As you see, Ed's getting some of them. I'm getting some of them. As far as Sierra goes, for the most part, Sierra's running very smoothly, but there are minor glitches, and there are some glitches that I've been having that others aren't having. For example, I like to run different activities for different programs where I'll use a different voice, or I'll have QuickNav automatically turn off when I'm in Mail or my Twitter client, Night Owl, and it's just not working. And I've spoken to Apple about this, and they definitely realize there's an issue, but not all users are having it. If you've noticed some issues that you're having, we definitely want to hear about them, so let us know, and you can do that either on Twitter at iAccessVO, or because it's probably going to be more than 140 characters if it's an issue, email us in at iAccessVO@gmail.com. But overall, I've been having a pretty pleasant experience with Sierra and iOS 10. That's just minor annoyances. What about you, Ed?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's been pretty good, but you're right. There are issues that are hardware specific. Different models of the phone seem to have different issues with different updates or different parts of the operating system at different times. So it's there's a lot of different variables out there. So it'll drive some people crazy, and some people say, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, and there's some other and with Sierra, there's some minor focus issues where when you're editing an email or a Pages document and you delete some text and you think you should be, right after where you deleted the text, now all of a sudden you're at the top of the document.
Wait a minute. Are you blaming your focus issues on something else again?
Yes. Hey, Mr. John Panarese has these focus issues as well. So if John's having them, they're major issues.
Okay.
No comment? Nothing?
I'm going to be kind to John on the
No
anniversary.
wise guy remark there, tough guy?
No, you know why? Because he's not here. I'll reserve that for when he's here with us.
You see, you kissing up to him tells me confirms to me what the researchers have been saying behind the show, that you're trying to change the name of the show from iAccessVO to Everybody Loves Ed. I've heard the rumblings.
Yeah, okay.
And Ed, because everybody loves Ed, both of us train people out there in the real world, where Neo is from the Matrix. And probably, I guess, the first question that, we've never addressed on this podcast, I don't believe, that we get asked all the time is, well, how do I know what device is right for me?
Right. Yeah, and it's all based on, technical aptitude, visual acuity,
and size, believe it or not.
Or dexterity issues with hands, yeah, that could have something to do with it. There's all kinds of things that come into play here. So, and a lot of it's economics too. Yeah,
no, a lot of it is. And your best thing to do is, because most blind people are not made of money, so you've got to get this right the first time. Don't be afraid to go to an Apple store a few times, or a lot of your local blind libraries probably have devices or classes there where you could go and play around with some of these devices before making a decision.
Yeah, many of the people that attend the workshops that we've done at the Andrew Husker Library in New York City, they'll come in, they don't have a device, and the library has, a bunch of spare ones, and we'll hand them out and work with people with it, and they get a chance to really experience VoiceOver for several classes before they go out and make that investment on their own.
I thought the library went a little too far, though, when they had bricks hanging from all the devices so nobody could steal them. Yeah, they didn't have bricks, but I'll tell you, that one case they have on the iPads there, I was like, how the heck did they get this thing on?
Oh, that's a monster case.
It was that case. Like, did you play Nerf football as a kid? It was like Nerf iPad. It's like you could drop that thing because it had so much cushion to it that it might bounce.
Yeah, no, it definitely is a super industrial. I'm not going to break case.
Any advice for listeners or I guess users that ask you, Ed? Well, how do I know Windows or Mac? Which one's for me?
Yeah, and I know we've had this conversation with John Panarese on the show before, and a lot of it is based on your history too. I mean, and what's the reason that you would want to switch? I mean, if you've been a PC user your entire life and you know how to use the PC, and you suddenly find yourself where you have little or no functional vision left, it's hard to make that transition to the Mac. I mean, it takes a lot of dedication and a lot of time, and if you're going to train and not have a device, I don't advise with that. I mean, I tried that in the beginning, and if you can't go home and practice when you're making a conversion to a Mac OS from Microsoft, it's a really tough task.
I think the best way to explain it is when you put your original iOS one-on-one training together, it's like a 10 to 12 hour course, right?
Yeah, it's 10 to 15 hours. Good 12 hours is good to get people through it. Yes.
Yeah, for my Mac training course, to really get the full course is 42 hours.
Yep.
And as Ed said, you really have to have a Mac to learn the Mac, because in between meeting with a trainer, you've really got to spend a lot of time putting in the hours, and it comes down to what you're going to use in your work environment. And, what you've been trained on. If you're new to devices, I guess if you're, a college kid or high school, probably a high school kid that's just starting to use devices, you really got to go, I guess, with what's in your budget and everything. The great news is I was playing around with VMware Fusion recently, and Ed, I was playing around with Windows 10 1-year anniversary edition. Did I get that correct?
Yeah, I think you got that one right.
Yeah. I think I was originally calling it Windows 10-year anniversary, and I'm like, wait a minute.
You did. I saw the notes. I'm like, whoa, who wrote this?
It wasn't me. It was our researchers. You corrected them. Yeah, Windows has been around a little longer than 10 years, is what you're telling me, right?
Yes, exactly right. Yes. So,
I'll tell you what. You know me. I'm a super Mac fanboy, super Apple fanboy. And, I'll call them out when I think they're failing. But I mean, the gap before August 1st was so wide between Windows and Apple, and I've been playing around with Windows Narrator for the 10th. Windows 10 1-year anniversary edition. That's a lot to say, man. That's a lot to say.
Say that 3 times real fast.
I refuse to.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I'm impressed with Narrator. They've made huge leaps forward.
Yeah, I wasn't anticipating a lot of this stuff until like after January 1st of 2017. And when they came out with the release, I guess it was August 1st or August 2nd of this year, and a lot of the things that I was waiting to see in January were released already. And I'm like, wow, they're really making some strides here.
Yeah, I think they decided to speed things up because they wanted to beat the ending of the Mayan calendar.
Okay.
Oh, wait, that happened a few years ago. I love all those apocalyptic things that are supposed to happen that never happened, and how the world was supposed to end. No, but...
Well, the funny part about it if it does happen, you're not going to know about it.
Exactly. I won't be here. It's like, okay. So we're all...
Yeah. So, but Narrator, I mean, we were going over it today. You were going through it. And, and I think the funny thing was you were off by a line.
Yeah. I'm like... When did they move Command Z to paste in Windows or Control? Pardon me, I guess it was
Control Z.
Control Z to paste in Windows. And you're like, no, they didn't do that. And I'm like, I'm reading it. It must be new in Windows 10-year, 1-year anniversary edition. Ends up, I was off a column. Oh, okay. Putting the cart before the horse.
Yep, actually, that's exactly what you were doing. You had it backwards. Yeah,
I was going to say I was going to put the horse before the cart, but that made too much sense. So, but no, I'll be continuing to update here on the podcast because I haven't gotten into any of the meat and bones. Emailing, browsing, but just navigating the computer because this is I haven't touched a PC. I was going to say something, but that was a little inappropriate for the podcast. I haven't touched a PC since like 2008, 2009, Windows 95.
Right. And even then, like when you made the transition to the Mac, I mean, that took you a long time, didn't it? Because you didn't really have any formal training.
I trained myself. I'm self-taught. Yeah, it was 6 months of doing nothing, and there was a lot of head banging and wanting to throw the Mac out the window, but I didn't have a choice because I everything came crashing down at the same time where I was using Zoom text on the PC. My PC died, my vision went, and I had to make the choice. And at the time, the choice would have been Windows with JAWS, which was buying a brand new computer, and then JAWS, which was more expensive than just getting a Mac.
Right.
So
right.
I was pretty happy with I had been using for a few months because it was 2009. I'd been using the iPhone, and I said, well, let me get it because VoiceOver, and oh yeah, there was a steep learning curve because I had also, you got to remember, never used keyboard commands on the PC.
Right, and that's the one thing that I was negligent about too. Even though I was low vision, even though my vision was progressively getting worse and worse, I wasn't doing the keyboard commands. And I'll tell you, when I teach now, I teach everybody out of the box. We're gonna learn how to use this computer with a little bit of mouse movement. I don't care if you're low vision, because if you're zoomed in more than 5 or 6 times, it's so much easier to use the keyboard commands rather than trying to be moving that mouse around in that field of view, flipping back and forth. First of all, you get seasick. And then, you got to find what you're looking for, and then you go back and find where you were, where if you do a couple of keystrokes, you're done.
Yeah, that's really good advice. If you're out there and you're listening to us and you're somebody who has a degenerative eye disease, and right now you're like, well, I get by with Zoom, start learning your keyboard shortcuts. That way, hopefully your vision won't get to that point, but if it does, you're not going to first have to go through learning the keyboard shortcuts. It's nice to know. They're a great utility. You know, everybody knows on the PC, Control C, V, except me, Z. On the Mac, Command C, Command V.
There you go. Yeah, but I wish someone had really gotten that point across to me as well, because it would have made the transition a lot easier for me. So
yeah, it really would have. Now, I think we've gone above and beyond. We've had a lot of great guests on this show. I mean, I'd say almost all of our guests have been fantastic.
Yeah, no, it's been great. I mean, and talking about you learning the Mac, I mean, we ended up having one of the guys that really helped you get through the Mac in the early stages, David Woodbridge, because you listened to a lot of his early work 5-6 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I really wish he'd update those, because I think they were on Lion, or it might have even been before that. I forget what operating system they were on, but he has such a great way of explaining things and just, with just very well explains every. He explains things better than I put this sentence together. But I'll tell you, in our tradition, Jonathan Mosen, Marty from Blindfold Games, Blind Square GPS. I mean, the list just goes on and on. Laura Legendary. Ed, anybody you want to throw in? 2-3 people?
Well, just recently having Lainey Feingold on there was fantastic. I mean, there was some great stuff she did. I loved having Mosen on. I mean, I still remember his Christmas story that we talked about, and I'll be making sure that I resurrect that with the holidays coming up here.
Yeah, Allison Hartley. I mean, just all the guests have been tremendous. Everyone brings something a little different to the program, and we like to think that our guest today brings something definitely a little different to the program.
Yeah, no, this was different. This is unique. I mean, I think it's the first guest we've had on that. Well, no, I guess we can't say that because Marty Schultz is not blind, and neither is Ilka Piertema
from Blind Square. Yeah, but this guy has at least played Blind Guy.
Yes, he did. He played Mel Fisher in Growing Up Fisher, which was a series on NBC recently.
Yeah, and a lot of you that are probably into the comic book movies might recognize his voice from J. Jonah Jameson. I hope I got that correct, from the Spider-Man movies, or from the Farmers Insurance commercial, or as Ed, we learned, what other commercial?
I told you.
Yes.
He's yellow on the M&M commercials for 20 years.
Yeah, it is. But it is our great thrill and pleasure to welcome in our first Academy Award winner, Mr. J.K. Simmons.
Now we'd like to welcome in a very special guest who a lot of you may know, Academy Award winner J.K. Simmons. And J.K., this may be the one interview you ever do where you're better known for Growing Up Fisher than anything else in your career.
No, believe me, I still get a lot of attention for Growing Up Fisher, when I'm walking around the neighborhood or wherever. Yeah, that show has a lot of fans.
Yeah, it did, especially in the blind community. It was very popular. I know a lot of people were disappointed that it wasn't picked up for a season 2.
Yeah, well, that was network politics at its finest, because the audience, the numbers certainly justified us being around for longer than we were, but
Yeah, it's funny because Ed and I were talking before this, and we were saying Seinfeld would have only lasted 2 episodes these days.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely don't give shows the chance that they used to. I mean, it was a real unfortunate casualty of a kind of a changing of the guard with some of the suits at NBC Universal and
that's
blah blah blah, sour grapes, wah wah wah.
It's the way of the world these days. But what a lot of our listeners would probably be interested in hearing about is, how did you prepare to play? Was it Mel Fisher? Was his name?
Mel Fisher, yeah.
What went into preparing to play a blind guy?
Well, fortunately, the creator of the show, DJ Nash, based the character of Mel Fisher on his own father, who was blind blind since he was a young boy, and was an attorney, and did raise I think more kids than we had on the show. I think there were 4 Nash kids, and so DJ, having been obviously his entire life, having had a blind dad, he was not only a great writer and producer, but he was my technical advisor most of the time too.
Yeah, on the pilot episode, was it where you went out there with a chainsaw to cut the tree branch down?
Yeah, and he swears, true story.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah, well, I know Brian and I spoke because I didn't take a chainsaw out, but I've been known to break a branch off of somebody's tree when it's hit me in the head or the face.
Yeah, well, I've certainly been tempted myself many times. Even when I can see him coming, I miss him sometimes, or I don't miss him.
Right. I think there was a scene or an episode once too where you a car had pulled into the walkway and you had gone across the river. I think you just took your cane or whatever and just slammed it across the hood of the car.
yeah, and that was several episodes into the season, and of course we hadn't seen the cane. The cane had not been in evidence because I was mostly using the guide dog. Mm-hmm. But yeah, once he wrote that thing, we just said, okay, well, I guess sometimes we'll go with a cane because you can't really beat on the hood of a car with a German Shepherd. So.
Well, you can, but you'll probably get some pretty angry emails about that.
Yeah, you don't want the ASPCA on you.
No, definitely not. What was it like working with the guide dog? I know he wasn't a real guide dog, but what was it like just walking around with a dog in a harness?
Well, honestly, that was one of the things that I was talking to DJ about that I was hoping would improve in the second season, because the dog was a lovely dog. Peyton, I believe, was his name, and he was a golden retriever, sweetheart of a dog, but he was a trained showbiz dog. He had absolutely no clue what he was doing as a guide dog with that harness on him. And so, I mean, obviously they gave him a little bit of training, but he didn't, the rigorous training that guide dogs go through, and, a week or two of trying to catch him up to speed didn't quite do it. So I was, one of the additional challenges to, the technical aspects of playing a blind guy was the fact that I had to guide my dog and pretend that he was guiding me, and it was there were a lot of extra layers going on there, and then plus try to be funny. So
yeah,
right.
It's almost like on Arrested Development. There was Julia Louis-Dreyfus played a blind woman, and it ends up she was faking it, and her guide dog was actually blind.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's like, well, Brian is a guide dog user. I'm a cane user myself, but I'll probably make that plunge to the guide dog sometime within the next couple of years.
Oh yeah, well you go. Well, it's there's as I'm sure Brian will tell you this. There's probably a lot more bonding goes on with the canine than with the cane.
Oh yeah.
I would say so.
What? Now, obviously, at the end of the day, you got to see, but what did you find the toughest part about being blind? Did they blindfold you or do anything to give you more of a blind experience, I guess?
No, I mean, I would walk around the sets or locations. There were definitely times when we were just sort of practicing where, DJ would guide me, the way he and his dad would walk along if it was just the two of them, either when he was a kid or now as an adult, and I would just close my eyes and trust, and then of course with the guide dog or the alleged guide dog, I couldn't really do that because he would have walked me into a wall, so, or a low hanging branch, I would sort of pace it off and try to figure it out. And then, obviously the main sort of technical trick, for a sighted actor is just to, to kind of let your eyes be out of focus, and try to fight, in my case, I think 59 years when we were shooting the show of your eyes being trained to focus on everything as they scan around and, trying to not to do that and to just be unfocused.
That's interesting. Did you ever get headaches from doing that?
No, not that I recall. I mean, it was a metaphorical headache, because it just required an extra level of concentration, and there were definitely many times when I would just kill a take by saying no, because I knew that I had sort of, well, I was going to say lost focus, but actually sort of gained focus, and with my eyes in a way that I didn't want to, and I was, I wanted to be sure that those moments weren't the ones that ended up on the air. Although again, having DJ as the writer, the producer, the technical advisor, and he's in the editing room too, making the final decisions on the final cut of the episode. So I felt like I was in good hands. So those moments when I did slip up and make a mistake, or do something that obviously a sighted person would do, that a blind person wouldn't, then he would make sure that didn't make it onto the air.
Right. I'm sure a lot of our audience too will recognize your voice from Law and Order, where you've had a good run there, and I guess you've been on three different of the Law and Order franchise, through three different shows, I guess, with it, right?
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, played that same character, Dr. Emil Skoda, on 4 shows, because this was back in my New York days, probably 20 years ago or so. I also did a guest spot on a show called New York Undercover that was not a Law and Order show, but it was another Dick Wolf produced show, and they had an episode where they needed a shrink, and so Dr. Skoda has appeared on 4 different NBC cop shows.
Well, I remember you from the Oz series on HBO, and from what I recall, a lot of your fellow actors all ended up on Law and Order, or seemed to be in Law and Order as well. So was that a Dick Wolf production as well, or?
No. That was one of my all-time favorite guys. Tom Fontana was the creator and the head writer and producer of Oz. And really, that was just because those were the 2 main shows, or 3 or 4, depending on how many Law and Orders were going at a given time. Those were when we first started Oz, Law and Order, the original, was the only one that was going, and those were really the only 2 shows in New York. So those were the 2 shows that the New York actors were working on. I used to always brag about when people would compliment me on Oz and what a good show it was. I would say, well, that's because it's the New York actors, and that's where the best actors are. And now that I've been living in LA for 12 years, I guess I can't really say that anymore.
Well, speaking of acting, why do you think it is Hollywood shies away from letting disabled people play disabled characters?
Well, I think Hollywood is, as much or more than, any segment of society, they stick with what they know and, what's tried and true, and they imitate whatever is successful, and it's just, it doesn't sort of fit into the cookie cutter of, especially when you're talking about network television and the studio movies where, it's such a corporate kind of mindset, and, the business model, this is what the business model, is, and this is how we operate, and any thinking outside of the box, just kind of puts everybody into a tizzy. But, having said that, I think, there are exceptions to that rule from time to time, and hopefully the more exceptions that there are, the more sort of acceptable it becomes from, from an industry standpoint, because I know audiences, would love to see that. I actually just did a film that we shot in Oslo, Norway, this past winter, where they did have a very disparate group of actors, including in just there were lots of scenes with lots of background actors and actors playing And not like let's make a point of this. Just like this is the real world, and let's just try to make the movie look like the real world.
That's good. Now, Ed, I have to ask you. Ed and I have a mutual acquaintance who, I guess, worked as an advisor on Alec Baldwin's new movie called Blind. Who was blind. Ed, do you know if they used any of the local blind people for that movie?
Well, I know that Frank, who was speaking of, was actually brought on as a consultant, but no, because Alec Baldwin was the only blind character in the movie. So,
oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, so he was on there as a consultant for him, and then my mobility instructor also was a consultant for Al Pacino in Scent of a Woman. So it's I know Hollywood does go out and does reach out to make sure that they get the right people there to help with the physical appearance of being blind as well, because there are different movements and different body head movements and things like that have to be portrayed.
Yeah, and any actor who like Alex or Pacino or who's taking his work seriously wants to whether he's whatever he's doing, whether he's playing a baseball player or a violinist or a blind character, you want to get the little things right, because you're trying to create that willing suspension of disbelief and have people believe you are the guy. So I don't really know anything about the Alec Baldwin movie, but I'm looking forward to seeing it when it's out.
Yeah. Now, you won an Academy Award for playing Fletcher in Whiplash. Did your background in music theory and your parents as music teachers really help you bring that character to life? Although, I guess he was kind of a vicious character, but how was that helpful, having a background in music?
Well, it was very helpful, and in fact, when I first sat down, Jason Reitman, who was a producer on it, and whose movies he's directed, I've been in all of them to one degree or another. Once only my voice, but he was the one that sent me the script, and I immediately fell in love with it. And of course, nobody at the time knew who Damien Chazelle was, the writer-director. And so they arranged a meeting between Damien and myself, and we were having lunch at a local joint. I showed up, and first of all, was kind of shocked that Damien Chazelle wasn't for some reason I had this mental image when you hear the name Damien Chazelle and you think of a movie about jazz. I had an image of Antoine Fuqua in my head.
Okay.
I sort of had this large, imposing black man was my fantasy of what this guy was going. And then when I showed up, and he was this skinny little Jewish kid from Jersey who looked like he was 17 years old. I was, I looked right through him because I didn't think he was the guy I was looking for. So that was the first sort of, what's different here than what we're expecting. And then the second thing was we sat down, hi, nice to meet you, I love the script, I'm a big fan, blah, 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 like you always do whether you mean it or not. And then he says, listen, the first thing I want to do is I want to put your mind at ease. I don't want you to be intimidated by, this guy's a genius musician. I don't want you to be intimidated by the musical aspects of it and the conducting and everything. He said, we'll have a technical advisor. We'll have a body double. You can fake it. You can do as much as you want. And we can, I don't want you to, feel like you're in over your head as far as that goes. And I said, did you not talk to Reitman about this? He said, I got a college degree in composing and conducting and singing, and I thought I was going to be, either Leonard Bernstein or Johannes Brahms when I grew up. And this is actually, although I'm not a jazz guy, my background is actually, perfectly suited for the, again, just the technical aspects, not who the character is.
Sure.
But, it's one of those things that, that always takes me out of a movie as an audience. If I'm watching a movie and a guy is playing an athlete and he just can't cut it, or a guy is playing a piano player and they're obviously faking it, it just spoils the character.
Right, well, that's like that. You did a movie with Kevin Costner, I think, for the love of the game, and he portrayed very well there because he's also very athletic. So I can see what you're saying there. Yeah,
absolutely. That was one of my first movies, and my first movie with Sam Raimi, who was another longtime collaborator. And and we had bunches of manager, and several of those guys, at one point or another would comment about how believable Costner was, and what a good athlete he is. Yeah, so that was a case of some real good casting. Plus, in my case, it was excellent casting because I got to play the manager of my hometown team, the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah,
the Detroit Tigers. Yeah, I spent many a day in the old Tiger Stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ed, why don't you tell him what you were involved with Major League Baseball? Because he'll know it.
I used to work in television production for Major League with this local sports. I guess it was a local sports channel at that time. So we did the 3D graphics for the baseball games. So I was in the old Tiger Stadium, and then I did some production work in the new Tiger Stadium as well. So we did that all over the country. So it was pretty good stuff.
Beautiful.
The blind guy tracking pitches and grading umpires.
Now, you have obviously a long history with music in your background. A lot of blind people outside of Ed and myself can play musical instruments and are really in tune with music. What is it that you love most about music?
Music soothes the savage breast, I think it's, all the cliches are true. Music is the international language, and, music feeds the soul, and God knows, especially in the last few decades, there are so many sort of micro genres of music that, my 17-year-old son is into this electronic stuff that I don't even know.
I can't stand that.
I'm learning to appreciate, but don't really understand, because he's actually a solid musician himself. Music just makes you feel, and particularly when I was younger and first fell in love with first classical music, and then I was doing opera, and then segued into musical theater, and I was listening to rock and roll like most guys my age in the 60s, late 60s and 70s, and developed even more of an appreciation for jazz during the course of the Whiplash experience.
Yeah.
Now I know. Aside from the work you've done for television and movies and things like that, I believe you also read a Tom Clancy book, and I think a lot of our listeners a lot of blind people are into audible books. And is that I'm correct in that, right? You did read. Yeah. You do a read. Yes.
I did do. I started when I first started doing voiceover work in New York. I was in a Broadway show, a revival of Guys and Dolls, that was a big, over-the-top hit, and set box office records. And all of a sudden, all of us in the cast were sort of, the flavor of the month with all the agents in town. And so I finally got a voiceover agent who would send me out on some auditions, and I was booking, little jobs here and there, a radio spot or something, no big national TV campaigns or anything. And one of the things that this guy had going on was doing books on tape. And the first several I did actually were really interesting. I wish can't remember the company. It might have been Doubleday at the time. That were doing the Louis L'Amour stories.
The old Dexter stories.
Rather than just have a guy read the story, they were doing the script, and I can't recall for sure. I don't think they were even adapting them. I think they just had a narrator do the narration, and then they would hire actors to just voice all of the different characters. So you'd have men and women and old and young and this and that. Mm-hmm. And I did I don't know, a half a dozen or more of those. A couple as the narrator and a couple as playing characters. And then I got the opportunity to do a few other books on tape. I did one of the Don't Know Much About History books that covered the Civil War, and then I got a call, one day from that same agent asking me, saying that they were interested in me for doing this new book, and I was very busy at the time with other things, and I said, I'd love to do it, and sounds interesting. I said, and then, of course, they send you a book ahead of time, but I honestly did not have time to even read the whole book once through before I went to the recording session. And I remember asking my agent, when we were talking about it, I said, as long as I'm not going to have to do 75 different, foreign accents or something, because I'm not going to have much time to prepare. So he said, I'm sure it'll be fine. So I show up to the recording session. Well, the book is a story about an international band of terrorists who take over the UN. So every character in the book is a different foreign accent or English dialect. The female president of Korea. And I was completely at sea because I wasn't like a Dan Castellaneta, a Hank Azaria, one of these guys that routinely does every voice and every accent in the book. So I was honestly, I will say that is not one of my proudest moments, that book, because I was kind of,
Do you still have that same agent?
Actually, no, he just retired.
Oh, okay.
Retired and, following the stereotype, moved to Florida. And, but I'm still with, I'm with, the guy who became his protege and is now taken over for him at that same agency. I've been in LA for 12 years now, but I'm still working with my, the agents that I had, both the voiceover guy, one of the voiceover guys and the legit guy, as we call them, that represented me in New York for years before we came out here.
Wow, that's rare. That's rare. Now, you were in Terminator Genesis. You didn't happen to notice if they had a cure for blindness in the future, did you?
I did not get to go to the future. I was.
That's right.
Stuck
That's
in
present day. That's right.
On that movie, so yeah.
Yeah, something too is I was talking to Brian before when I was reading through some of the information about you, and I noticed that I guess you do some product commercial work as well, voiceover work. And did I read correctly that you were actually one of the M&Ms in some of the commercials that we see?
I have been for, I want to say, 20 years the voice of Yellow. Sweet, dumb, yellow M&M, yes. Billy West and I, who was, another one of those voiceover geniuses who could do anything and sound like anybody. He and I auditioned together at, one of the voiceover casting joints in New York, probably at least 20 years ago. And he's been red, and I've been yellow ever since.
That's crazy. I never even noticed that. Now, you hosted Saturday Night Live. What was that experience like?
Well, that was, something that never in my wildest dreams I thought I would get to do. And it was in that same sort of hysteria that was surrounding Whiplash a year and a half ago or so. And when I first got the call, I was shooting a movie, and I was, busy with this and that, voiceover here and there, and of course I was parading around on all the red carpets, and they asked me to, we got the call saying they wanted me to host, and it was whatever week it was. I was scheduled to be shooting on The Accountants that week, actually, which is, conveniently enough, I'll just go ahead and pimp it right now. Coming soon to a theater near you.
Awesome.
The Accountant opens, I think, October 14th, maybe. But I was shooting on that, and I thought, that's really, really nice, very, exciting to be thought of for that, but I'm sorry, I'm not available. And I was telling my wife about it that night, and our kids, and all three of them were like, "What? Wait, you have to do Saturday." My kids had just started watching Saturday Night Live like a year or two before that, and they just weren't taking no for an answer. So I went back to the drawing board and got the agents to huddle up and figure out, that ultimately there was a way that the schedule worked out so that I was free to do it. And I was working with Ben Affleck on the movie, who has hosted at least 3 times, maybe 4. So he kind of gave me sort of walked me through what the whole experience is like for a first-time guy. And, boy, I got there, and you hit the ground running, and obviously they kind of know what they're doing around there, so all you got to do is, trust and do your best and, try to keep your wits about you as it's all going down. It was terrifying, though, because...
I imagine.
On Wednesday, I thought, you do the first sort of real... You start on Monday, and everybody's talking about their ideas and blah, blah, blah. By Wednesday is the first time you read through all of the scripts, which is like 4 times more than are going to make it to the show, And after that read through Wednesday night, my wife and kids were coming out on Thursday to join me for the rest of the time. And I was on the phone with my wife saying, this is horrible. This is going to be the worst episode in the history of Saturday Night Live. None of the sketches are funny. I'm not funny in any of them. They're asking me to do this that I can't do. And I'm not feeling like, any of my strengths are being used. It's just horrible. It's going to be the worst. And, of course, in retrospect now, and having talked to other people who hosted the show, they're all like, yeah, that's Wednesday. That's what Wednesday's like. And then Thursday gets a little better, and you do some of the pre-taping, and Friday, the days get longer, but they get better, and then by the audience run through on Saturday, they do a whole run of the show on Saturday evening before the Saturday Night Live. And you do a 2-hour version of the show, and then with a live audience and taping everything, and then they make, you go into Lauren's office and the final cuts are made, and so it's by the time the show was wrapped on Saturday night, it was I was elated that I hadn't completely screwed anything up, and ready for my nap.
Well, yeah, I gotta say, that sounds like an exhausting week.
Anxiety-ridden week, yeah.
That's why the cast members that do that every week tend to be young.
That's why they also have I don't know if they still do, but I've read many a book about their legendary after parties that they used to have back in the day.
Yeah, well, I think the legendariness of the after parties has calmed down a little bit. I mean, it was great, but it was at least the after party. I can't speak to what after parties there may have been, but we had our kids at the after party.
Okay.
And, it was just a nice wrap party with a bunch of, and the cast were all great with, meeting our teenagers who were big fans. I mean, my daughter was the one that, because, I don't have time to watch anything regularly, and I wasn't all that caught up on the show when they first asked me to do it. So I was watching an episode with my 13-year-old daughter, and, she was saying, oh, that's Cecily, and that, naming all the cast for me, and
must have been a real treat for them, yeah. Hey, at least you didn't make the list of the 21 people that are never allowed back at Saturday Night Live. So, I don't know if
that list. I didn't know that list existed, but I'm glad it's not 22.
It's mostly people that I know. I remember Andrew Dice Clay's on that list. Milton Berle, surprisingly, was on that list, who I think is still considered the worst host ever on Saturday Night Live. Just because his comedy didn't, and that was in the 70s, didn't mix with the new generation of comedy back then. But
right,
yeah. So it was,
yeah, and he was, yeah. Well, I'm guessing he was somewhat aged by then. I'm telling you, the biggest thing to me was just reading cue cards. I mean, I'd never read cue cards in my life.
Yeah.
People think that's an improv show. It's not an improv show at all. I mean, you might do a little improv, during the rehearsal process, and if something weird happens, you might get a little improv in. But it's I mean, those scripts are finely honed, and you're reading off cue cards, and it's just weird to get in the habit of looking over somebody's shoulder instead of looking at them like I've been trained for 40 years as an actor.
Yeah. Well, you've had an unbelievable career from Broadway to huge commercials, audio books, television movies. What do you enjoy most about being an actor?
Not doing the same thing every day. I enjoy the variety and the creativity of getting to go do different things. And sometimes when you're doing, series television, or like, in the old days for me, a Broadway run where you're doing the same show 8 times a week for, a year, literally, it can get a little repetitious, but, yeah, that's really the great joy for me. And people ask, do I like comedy better or drama? Do I like playing a good guy, playing a bad guy? I just really like that I've been blessed with the opportunity to play a wide variety of kinds of characters in a wide variety of styles, and I'm always looking forward to doing something a little bit different next time around.
Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. And even though we're blind, we do have some people that are aspiring actors. So any advice that you might have for somebody who's just up and coming?
You know what? Honestly, this may be advice that is either unnecessary for a blind actor or maybe extra important. What I tell young actors who sort of ask, generally speaking, what's your one sort of drop a little piece of advice on me is simply to listen, because actors in general are especially young actors, you're worried about how you're coming off, how you're presenting yourself, and I think the most important thing to really create a character and create an organic, real life situation is to be really connected with the other actors, and the way to do that is to actually listen to what they're saying instead of just waiting for them to shut up so you can say your line.
That's great advice for just life in general. As people,
and it does go for that as well.
Well, J.K., this was a real treat for both Ed and myself, right, Ed?
Oh yeah, no, this is great. I mean, it's just great to have you on, and great for you to take the time for us, and it's just so nice to see somebody who works hard in their craft, and God, you achieved the ultimate goal. Well, maybe not goal, but to win the Oscar just had to be incredible.
Yeah, it was a big treat. I mean, it never has been my goal was always to do the best work I can, and it never occurred to me that I'd be part of that whole awards thing, but it obviously was a great experience, and a nice little feather in my cap, and brought great attention to a movie that I think is an extraordinary piece of work, and I think people will be appreciating for a long time.
That's fantastic. And where do you keep your Oscar? I have to ask that.
It's sitting on top of a bookshelf upstairs in sort of a common area up on the second floor of our house, so that it's not. It's a kind of a modernish house, so there's no mantle over the fireplace for it to go and have its place of honor in the living room. And actually, the living room's not a living room; it's a music room. It's got a piano and 9 guitars and a drum kit.
Oh, wow!
A marimba and everything else. So it's just there.
That's great. Now I get to do my David Letterman impression, which is not really an impression, but coming to theaters October 14th, The Accountant with J.K. Simmons and Ben Affleck. Check it out.
Yes, and also, if I may, another sort of little movie that there's coming out a week before then in only, I think, 10 markets, but New York and L.A. among them, is a little movie starring Johnny Simmons, no relation, but we play father and son, directed by Kevin Pollak, and it's called The Late Bloomer, and it's a very funny movie.
I bet Kevin's amazing, so check that out as well. And that's it, we're wrapped. That's great. Kevin, by the way, Kevin has done Laugh for Sight before in L.A.
Well, yeah, I knew that, and
okay.
we talked about that. I can't remember when. Months ago, we had that conversation.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's such a nice guy, and he's an incredible actor too. So, well, thanks, J.K. Really appreciate this. Know how busy you are.
It's a pleasure talking to you guys.
Yeah, J.K., thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You bet.
You're listening to Brian and Ed on iAccessVO.
That was just absolutely amazing. JK, thanks so much for doing this. Ed, all of our guests are celebrities, but our first movie star celebrity for the show.
Hey, not too many people can say they had an Oscar-winning actor on their podcast. That was really cool. And I'll tell you, I remember him from Oz, and his character on Oz was totally scary, man. He played that neo-Nazi, and I was like, man, if there's any reason not to go to prison, it's because you don't want to run into a guy like that.
Yeah. And it's obviously the character is the complete polar opposite of who JK is. I mean,
absolutely. I mean, to go from playing Schillinger on Oz to being the yellow M&M is just like you don't get more extreme than that.
Are you telling me the yellow M&M's not a neo-Nazi?
No.
Are you sure? How do you know for sure?
I guess you really don't know anything this day.
You don't, But, interestingly enough, there's a new app that you turned me on to that, unfortunately, right now, we wouldn't be able to use, I guess, with JK's new movie coming out, The Attorney, because it's not in there yet, but maybe soon, a new app that's called Greta, that's going to help blind moviegoers there, Ed.
Yeah, this was a technology that I saw a couple of years ago with an app that came out. It was from an app developer. I think it was out of Italy. And
they had not Germany, right?
No, Brian. But, they had this thing developed, and I was really thought it was great technology, because what it was is you download the described video soundtrack before you go to the movies. You go to the movies, you fire up your app, you turn it on, and it syncs itself to the audio in the movie theater, and then starts playing the described video on your own earbuds off of your own iPhone device. And I thought that was fantastic. And unfortunately, they only came out with one movie. It was Philomena, which wasn't something I was running out to the box office I wanted to see, although I did end up listening to it on described video like a year later and thought it was a great movie. But, it just was a great technology, and I was like, oh, how nice not to go in and have to fight with people in the movie theater at the counter and say, I want described video, you don't have it, you promised me you'd have it, you get there, it just could ruin an evening. And I think you've had some experiences like that in the past.
Yeah, I did finally get to see the Star Wars movie, but like I said, the first time we went there, all the described video was broken at the movie theater. So yeah.
Yeah. So what I did was, on that first one that came out, I didn't go out to see Philomena, but I was able to trick the system into thinking that I was in the movie theater by going to YouTube and downloading the trailer, and I was able to get that app to actually start playing the movie, but unfortunately started playing it like somewhere in the middle.
Hold on, I'm hanging up right now and calling the FBI to report you for fraud and intellectual theft. You're the reason why we can't have any good toys.
There you go. So I tried that with the Greta app. I did the same thing, and I could not get it to kick off using the trailer. And then I said, let me think a second. And I noticed when I was looking for the trailer, I saw the soundtrack, a few of the listed a couple of times. I said, let me try the soundtrack. So I started playing this one song in the soundtrack, and it did kick in. So I was able to hear it. But all I heard was the narration, the description narration. I didn't hear any of the dialogue from the movie, and I'm wondering if that is how they're finally going to get this to work in the United States, is that they don't have anything of the movie in there. They just have the synchronized narration.
Yeah, and maybe that's how they get around, from people like you trying to steal movies for free. So that's obviously been their big concern, is you got people like you.
Well, it has been, yes. Yeah, well, no, not from people like me, but it has been copyright issues.
Me, I would never, ever in a million years try and get any free kind of music or film or described video content or anything like that. Let me guess, back in the day, you were one of those people that ordered 12 CDs and never bought the rest for 1 penny.
No, I did not deal with the Columbia book club.
Come on, you didn't do that as a kid? Well, I guess you were pretty old at the time. But, sorry about that. That came out a little cruel. Come on, everybody as a kid ordered 12 CDs for 1 penny and then, used their neighbor's name, didn't they?
Well, I hate to tell you, Brian, when I was a kid, we didn't have CDs.
Oh, that's right, man. You had 8-track.
We had 8 tracks and 45. Hey, my first car had an 8-track player in it, man.
Hey, well, I was the first time I scammed Columbia House Records. I did get cassettes, so it was before CDs. I'm just surprised you never did that. Everybody's done that.
No, I don't know.
There was a great article recently about how Columbia Record House ended up making millions and millions of dollars anyway, even though there were a bunch of people out there like me that never paid for their subscriptions. But yeah, now this movie, Greta. My only concern, like we already said, is I think it wasn't like Blind Movie Reading or something, or Movie Reading was the other app, and they just had that one movie. I kept checking it and checking and checking, and eventually I'm like, why do I still have this on my phone? They just have the one movie, and I assume it's not that the people behind it, gave up. It's just it's so hard when you're dealing with Hollywood. Hey, just ask JK, this is dealing from a legality aspects. But if they could get this thing to work, I'm hopeful that it's going to work, and it'd be great to not have to go into the movie theater and then ask for headphones and everything, that you have all the content you need. Mm-hmm. It would just be so much user friendly, and I'm hopeful that Greta, who currently has 2 films in there, one a documentary, I guess, and the other one seems like it's a mainstream film with Mark Ruffalo and Keira Knightley, which I already forgot the title of, but it is a mainstream film. So we'll keep an eye on this, though. It's something that's exciting.
Yeah, no, I am excited about it because, that app, like you said, I kept looking for months and months waiting for something else to drop, and nothing ever did. But the funny thing is, I do have some friends that live in Italy, and they had come over here, and they were talking about the app, and it's like, oh, we don't have that here. It came out with one movie, and they use it all the time in Italy. So it definitely was a copyright issue here in the States.
Yeah, well, you might have friends, but I got phone calls.
Yes, actually, we got more than one phone call. We have several phone calls. So the first one we have is from Bill from St. Louis. What say we give him a listen?
My name is Bill from St. Louis, Missouri. Enjoy your show. One of the things you talked about in this latest episode was that raise to talk feature in iOS 10. You can turn that off, but you have to go to display and brightness and settings, and then you can shut it off. So hopefully in the future shows with the new AirPods coming out and the new headphones from Beats, you'll be able to try some of that and give some feedback. You have a lot of helpful information. Thank you.
You're listening to Brian and Ed on iAccessVO.
Bill, thanks for the great call, because you brought up something that I brought up to Ed earlier, finding things on the new layout of the iPhone. Ed, I like to snooze when my alarm goes off. What about you?
No, I hated that snooze switch.
That
used to drive me crazy.
That's because when they first invented the alarm clock, you didn't have that snooze function, so you're just not used to it. But for the younger people like me, and I'm not that much younger, I love the snooze. I mean, it was so great, when the alarm popped up on the iPhone, you could either hit OK for alarm or snooze. There's no snooze button anymore. I can't find where they moved it to.
Yeah, it's because it's gone. Thank God. I hated that thing, because if I would set an alarm and forget to turn that off, because, the alarm goes off, boom, I hit the power button on my iPhone, I'm up. And then I'd be in the shower, and my alarm would be going off, waking everybody else in the house up.
No, but you could turn the snooze feature off under the alarm, but it's ridiculous that they don't have it. I mean, I don't know what's going on. It seems like it's a glitch. And Ed, I'm sorry to tell you, I got a funny feeling the snooze button's coming back eventually.
Okay, well, we'll see. If it does, it would be good for you. I don't care if it comes back. As long as I can turn it off, I'm a happy guy.
Yeah. Well, you can turn it off. You've been turning it off for years, I assume, without using snooze. It's just another button that's right next to it and everything. What about you, Ed? Have you been having some fun trying to find some things on the new layout?
Well, yeah. Well, it's funny that Bill would call in, because I actually had someone come into my office 2 days ago asking me the exact same thing, and we're trying to find the raise to to wake thing to shut it off, and I didn't realize it was in display. So it was like just flicking around. I should have listened to Bill's phone call a little sooner.
Would have made you look a lot smarter.
No, I'm not that worried about that. I mean, you know what, Brian? You can't know it all, but you have to have the skill set and the tools to figure it out.
That's true. Well, why don't we hear who our second call is from?
All right, so our second call is actually from somebody here from, I believe, on Long Island. So we have Tom Kershaw from Wantor.
Hi, Ed. Great podcast. This is Tom Kershaw from Wantor. I was talking to a couple of Citibank representatives. One was in Levittown and one was in South Florida. And when I asked them what they had on their cash machines for the visually impaired, the best they could tell me was they could give me a magnifying glass. Period. And that was it. Also, I want to tell you that SCAT in Suffolk County only allows 21 uses by people from out of town, which would be Nassau County or any other non-Suffolk County resident. And after that 21, they will cut you off. Great podcast. Hope to keep it up. Take care.
You're listening to Brian and Ed on iAccessVO.
Yeah, it's interesting because I, like Tom, am a Citibank customer, and I was recently in a Citibank, and one of the, they had one of those long lines. I always go to the teller, and they had somebody at the bank asking if anybody just needed to use the ATM, and that's all I needed to do was get some cash. So she came out, and I started asking her. I said, "Well, do you guys have headphone jacks on your ATMs?" And her answer was, "Some of them." Well,
yeah.
How's a blind person supposed to know which ones do and which ones don't?
Well, I guess you, was it that they had them and the new ones are taking away the audio jack?
Touche.
Now if you carry around headphones, will they have one with a lightning port?
you have to have your adapter to access your ATM now.
Yeah, and what if you drop and lose your adapter, which I've heard people have already begun to do?
Hey, they're only $9.99 for another one, so buy 5 of them. Maybe it'll be like Amazon. You buy 5 and you get a 6th free.
Yeah, there you go. Actually, I heard Belkin is releasing a dual port dongle so that you can charge and listen to your music at the same time.
I'm gonna have to. What's a dongle? Are we allowed to use on the podcast?
No, this is a PG-13 show. So no, the dongle is that's what that connector is. It's called a dongle.
I know what a dongle is. A dongle.
Yeah,
that's just a funny word to say.
Yeah, but can you double dongle? Is that politically correct?
I don't know, but my favorite game as a kid was Dongle Kong.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if we're going to make it another year, Ed, but why don't we go on to our third phone call?
Okay, so let's go to call number 3, which is actually from somebody I believe you're interacting with, and we'll get into that in a bit. David Cleveland from Houston, Texas.
Hi, this is David Cleveland from Houston, Texas. I'm a long-time listener to the podcast, and I wanted to comment about the question about how to listen to audiobooks on your iPhone that you've maybe ripped from a CD or get from some other format like MP3 format. I use Voice Dream Reader for that. I know it's mainly intended for accessing, text material, but it actually works pretty good for audiobooks, as well as the movies from Blind Mice Movie Vault. I also load those in there and use it so I can kind of stop and start them, and it always remembers where I left off, and I can also put bookmarks in there. It does have a bookmark feature, of course, that also works for audio files as well as text files. And you can adjust the, rate of speech and all the other settings that you would normally get on other audio playback apps. So I think Voice Dream Reader would be a good option. I think it's still about $10, which is I think a good deal for what you get. And I just wanted to give my opinion on that. Keep up the good work.
You're listening to Brian and Ed on iAccessVO.
I still want to call this app Voice Stream. What about you?
I tell you, I did, and I kept looking for it in the App Store when I first heard about it. I'm like, I can't find this Voice Stream Reader, and I didn't realize it was Dream. And I cannot tell you how many students I correct on the same thing. They're like, I can't find this Voice Stream Reader. I said, DREAM, Voice Dream Reader. So, but it was great that David responded, because that was actually an email-in question we had gotten from another listener, Carla J., who was asking about this, and he came up with a good solution for her, where she's able to actually put her recordings in there, and she can bookmark them, which is what she was looking for.
Yeah. Now I've yet to get the app, but this is interesting, because this is a question, like you said, we had a while back, and thanks to David for answering that question. And it's just a great app that you can do a lot with, and for $10,
Oh, yeah, you can't be. And I'll tell you what I did was, I'm a big proponent of Capti Narrator. So, after David had, called this in, I pulled up Capti and say, well, if it works in VoiceStream, will Capti do the same thing? And it does not. You cannot download any audio files into Capti Narrator. So VoiceStream Reader has the upper hand on this one.
Yeah, and David is actually one of our fantasy football players, and we're recording this on a Sunday, so by the time this comes out, the standings will hopefully be different, because I'm currently in 5th place. I'm 2-1, so pretty happy about that. And David, who I believe is a first-time fantasy football player in the iAccessVO Fantasy Football League, he's in 4th place. But in 1st place, we got Clarence, Pookie's Bandits, So I like that name. I don't know the etymology of the name, and he's 3-0. And our only other 3-0 team is our 2nd place team, our Montreal Beavers. Nick, our Canadian listener, who hopefully still listens, because I believe I made a negative Canada remark on the last show. But so we got a lot of parity in the league, and our counterpart. I had to really scroll down to find John Panarese, who named his team I Stink, and he must be able to see the future, because he does stink. He's 1-2, and he's in 8th place. So there's your iAccessVO Fantasy Football League update. I hope everybody's having fun with it. We seem to be having a lot of activity in the league, and we'll see who's in 1st place a few months from now.
You mentioned that David is a first-time iAccessVO fantasy football participant, but aren't you all first-time iAccessVO fantasy football participants?
That's our crack research staff screwing up. That should have been first-time fantasy football player.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
You just can't get help these days.
Hey, you know what, Brian?
You haven't learned that?
Brian, you get what you pay for.
You do. You get what you pay for. And although not always, because I think we're giving away something for free, which is pretty fantastic.
You know what? That's a damn good segue. Did one of our research guys write that?
Yeah. We'll have to give him a gold star.
Yeah, it's time for a contest. I mean, this has been a great contest. We have a lot of participants. We had 154 unique individuals enter the contest for a total of 243 entries because you were allowed to submit up to 5 times based on whether you liked the Facebook page, or you shared the episode posts, or you retweeted on Twitter. So why don't we get in there and get this done for them?
Yeah.
So what we've done,
before I draw the first number, we're using a random number generator, and Ed wanted to make sure I could say that correctly before the podcast. But before I draw the first number, we really got to give another shout out to Ilka at Blind Square for presenting us with these 3 coupon codes to give away, and
3 promo codes.
Promo codes, yeah. And if you don't win the app, I believe it's probably $40 in the App Store now. Do yourself a favor, save up the $40, get the app, because it's a really fantastic app that is going to be quite helpful to you. It's really a must-have app. I would put it in probably towards the top of my list for most important apps for blind people.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was using it again today. I went into town, got a haircut, turned it on because I had to walk around to a different area because there was a fair going on, and I turned it on just to listen to all the shops and stores that were downtown. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's great. That's great to hear. And even works in Long Island. So I mean, how great is that?
Yeah.
So with that. Oh, God, I almost said the sentence that I can't stand because some people use it before they start every single podcast. You know what that sentence is?
Without further ado?
Yes, it's a sentence that you will never hear me utter. So here we go. What?
Oh, that's why you asked me to say it.
I can't stand that. It's overkill. It's everybody uses it, and I can't stand it. So, Are you ready, Ed?
I'm ready. I've got the list. You generate the numbers, and I will. Hopefully, I won't butcher the names.
That's why I'm not reading the names, because we know I would definitely be butchering them.
There you go.
First lucky winner. Number 22.
Number 22 is Apai Elisha. A-P-A-I. Second name, E-L-I-S-H-A. Apai Elisha.
Congratulations, Apai, and we do apologize if we are mispronouncing your name. Neither of us have college educations.
Oh, wait a minute. I paid a lot of money for that college education.
He went to Villanova, and I went to the University of Florida. They just didn't teach us how to read. So, I'm drawing the next number, Ed. Our next lucky winner. Why couldn't they just be numbers and then we'd be done with it already? Number 202.
202. Hold on, let me scroll down this Excel.
I believe that might be the area code for Washington, D.C., if I'm correct.
Okay. Oh, this one I got. I got this one, Brian. You ready?
Good to hear. Tom Smith?
No, Rodney Johnson.
Come on down. You're the next contestant on Blind Square GPS. Congratulations to Rodney.
Yeah, awesome.
Number 165.
165. Scroll back down. 165. Okay. Narenrat Trios.
Now you're just making up words.
No, Narenrat Trios. Narinrat. Last name Trios. Narenrat Trios.
Narenrat. And we do
Narenrat Trios. I guess. Yeah. Awesome.
I knew a Trios one time that was blind, but I forgot his first name. Anyway, I don't think it was that Narenrat. We will be reaching out to you because obviously everybody who entered the contest was either through Twitter or Facebook. We'll be arranging a way to get in touch with you privately because we don't want to be emailing, posting on Twitter. Oh, here's your coupon code.
Yeah, no, it'll be done, it'll be done privately. And if you hear this and you haven't heard from us by the time this is released, please reach out to us, because that means we're, with Facebook, it is with. I know on the Facebook side, if I'm not friends with them personally, it's kind of hard. I can try to message them if I can, as long as they allow messages to come through.
But Ed, you told me you were friends with the entire world.
I never said that, Brian.
Yeah.
No, I believe it, but I've never said it.
You know what? If you're in New York coming up, you could come out and make some more friends, Ed.
Yes, we have a really nice event coming up here at the Andrew Haskell Library in New York City on 40 West 20th Street on, what is that, Saturday? Yeah, Saturday, October 15th.
From 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Yep.
And they're going second level this time, Ed.
Yeah, they're going. Both floors are going to be filled this time. It's a cultural and technology fair. It's a great event. I've participated in the first two. Unfortunately, I will not be there for most of this one because I do have a class that day that I'm teaching. But I will get there around 3 o'clock in the afternoon that day, I believe. But you know what? If you want to learn about technology, you want to learn about services, you want to learn about recreational things that you can do in New York City if you are blind or visually impaired, many of the vendors will be there. Many of the services that are offered in the New York area will be there. I know the New York State Commission for the Blind always has a presence there. The Mayor's Office for Disability will be there. The Department of Emergency Management. I mean, it's just a great event. A lot of arts and cultural stuff there, as well as technology, and a lot of social activities as well.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I can't make it because I don't get out of bed before 4 p.m.
On a Saturday, that's usually true because you're usually closing the bar on Saturday morning.
No, I can't up because I got college football on Saturday. I used the college football app yesterday and I listened to 3 games in a row. And you know what I learned? The Louisville announcers are awful and will put you to sleep. But can you believe it, my friend? I believe that's 26 episodes up, 26 episodes down.
Yeah, I have one question for you before we do sign off, Brian. So, it's been a great year. It's been a lot of fun. And we've learned a lot. I mean, we've learned a lot about podcasting. We've learned a lot about technology. We've learned a lot about working with each other. So, going forward in the future, what do you think? What do you have in mind? What do you think would really help us and help our listeners going forward?
Oh, without a doubt, to get better researchers. If you would like to become a researcher for iAccessVO, no, seriously.
No, you know what I like? This was a segment we had. I think we've had our most phone calls. I would really like to hear more of our listeners actually call in if they can. So I'm going to give the number here again. It's 732-660-8641. Please give us a call. If you don't want to be on the air, just state that in your message, but give us some feedback. Give us your thoughts, give us your ideas. If you have tips and tricks, and let us know what you'd like us to put on the show.
Yeah, and if you can get into leave us a review in the iTunes store if you don't mind. We've had a couple of reviews in there. They've all been fantastic, and you could do that by going into the native podcast app on the iPhone. You have to search for iAccessVO, so if you are subscribed, you do have to search for it, tap on the name, and at the bottom, I believe that's you tap the review tab first, and then you can leave a review of the show. You can put a star rating, you can leave some comments, you can email us in iAccessVO@gmail.com, or tweet us in iAccessVO on the Twitter.
Right. Or visit our new Facebook page at iAccessVO.
That is true. True.
And I tell you, I do have one thing that I would like to see going forward.
I was getting around to asking you that. It's a two-way street. So
there you go.
What would you like to see?
I've discussed this with you. We're beginning work on putting together our own iAccessVO app for the iPhone and the iPad. And hopefully we'll have that out within the next couple of months, and that'll allow us to really provide, some unique content aside from the podcast, and give people an easy opportunity, easy way to download our episodes as well.
Yeah. I just hope we don't have to wait until the research staff finishes putting that app together.
Well, no, they're not doing it. We're actually paying someone now.
Oh, we are. Oh, okay. Good thing, because you can't rely on the researchers for this show, So my question to you think we'll make it to 2 years?
Yeah, I think so, Brian. It's been, this has been a lot of fun. It really has. I mean, I look forward to doing it. I look forward to the releases. I just can't believe the numbers. The numbers have just blown me away. And I know you and I have discussed this, and we were excited at 6 months, and we thought, if we do another, that maybe 50% over, and we ended up doubling our 6 month numbers for the second 6 months. It's like it's starting to grow exponentially now. It's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, and you had kind of an interesting story. You know what? Share with the listeners at work the other day.
Oh, yeah. So, I'm at work the other day, and someone had come in for services for, unrelated to, for me, and he'd actually come into the wrong area, and he asked where he was, and one of the workmen in the room next to where I was told him he was in the Assistive Technology Center area, and he said, "Oh, is Ed Plumacher in there?" And he goes, "Yeah, he's in the room next door." He says, "Can I meet him?" And I could hear this because the door was open, and so I get up from my desk as he comes, coming over and stuff. He wanted to shake my hand and thank us for doing the podcast.
Yeah, that's great. It's a good thing he didn't walk in there and ask me where we were, because I would have said Earth. And that's just never helpful. But wow, 26, we're running a little long here, so people, for now, 1 year, and we are out.
You have been listening to iAccessVO. If you'd like to contact us with ideas and suggestions for future podcasts, please email us at iAccessVO@gmail.com or visit our website at www.accessquest.org.